All right, welcome everyone to CareTap Podcast, where we shine light on the people and programs delivering healthcare and essential services to the most vulnerable among us. Today's conversation is really personal. There was an announcement on August 1st where Minnesota Department of Human Services requested federal approval to end the Housing Stabilization Services program. This is a medical benefit that helps people with disabilities and seniors to find and keep safe, stable housing. And the reason that was cited to ending or terminating this housing stabilization program, which is also known as HSS program, was widespread fraud. But here's the truth. There are bad actors that must be held accountable for the fraud, but there are also hundreds and thousands of hardworking providers who have followed every rule and served their clients with dignity. They're now left in limbo. And the people they serve face a very real risk of losing their homes. As a CEO of CareTap, a platform that's trusted by HSS providers, I have seen firsthand deep impact of this decision on both providers and the clients who depend on them. That's why I'm speaking directly with those who are on frontlines to hear their stories, understand their immediate challenges, and explore what steps need to be taken next. So joining me today is Twyla Martin, owner of 360 Housing Stability, who has been serving the community for past 4 years, helping more than 600 clients each month to secure and maintain housing for them. Twyla, welcome to this CareTap podcast. I'm so glad you're here, Twyla. For listeners, who may not know you yet, can you tell us a little bit about 360 Housing Stability, how you got started, the kind of work you do, and the people you serve? If you can just give a quick introduction of that, that'll be awesome.
Yeah. So thank you for inviting me on to the podcast here. It's such an honor that you've created this platform for me to be able to share my story. 360 Housing Stability is like, I call it my baby. I pour my blood, sweat, and tears into this. What inspired me to start the organization was I have 2 disabled children myself at home. So I understand the vulnerable population like nobody else, a lot of lived experience. So when I learned that there was a benefit that we could utilize my gifts, it started at my kitchen table, right? And I just began to pour into people and all the things. However, but now today we have a team of about 30 coordinators who serve the most vulnerable clients. Some people are suffering with addiction. Some people are just mentally have a lot of mental illness and barriers. And we help them gain stability with their housing. But most times this is a lot deeper than just housing. So a lot of our work in transitioning is positioning the clients to be able to sustain housing, hence transitional and sustaining services, right? And so it's a beautiful benefit. And we've seen so many people go from the ground, living literally on the ground outside to living fulfilled, independent lives and have created stability. And it's hard work. It's purpose work for me. So there goes a little bit about myself. So I'll glad to be here.
Thank you. So, I want to get into a very general basic questions. A lot of people who hear about HSS, Housing Stabilization Services, I don't know what it is. And we're paying, a lot of tax dollars to it. Can you give me like a 10,000 foot level of help me understand the program? What is HSS program?
Yeah. So I'm glad you asked because a lot of people don't understand. So the HSS program consists of 3 different pieces. There's transition services. That's from the street into an actual home. Then you got sustaining services. That means once they get into that home, how do we keep them in that home? And what people are like, well, what does that mean? Well, many times they don't have the relationship skills. They don't have the budgeting skills to keep up with their bills and pay rent on time. They lack the skills to continue to uphold it on their own. That's what sustaining services. Consulting services is when it's pretty much the gathering of paperwork to even get them through the door for transition and sustaining. So that is the three components. And there's been a lot of impact. The homeless rate percentage wise has been reduced since this program has been created. We have actually a interview WCCO covered about the homeless impact in the lowering of rates of homelessness in our community, that it actually has had a huge impact. And you could check that out on our website. However, did I answer that question correctly? I feel like
yeah. So you talk about the three parts to the HSS. So the one is the transitional. The second one, what did you say the second one was?
The second one is sustaining services.
Sustaining service, and third one is the consulting services, right?
Correct.
So now, if you can help me understand, like, who would qualify for that? So I'm assuming it's people with disabilities, people with people who are senior. Anybody else who qualifies for that? What does it take for somebody to basically qualify to get the services?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So they have to have, there's 4 qualifications. They have to be 18 years or older.
Mm-hmm.
They have to have medical assistance.
Mm-hmm.
They have to have some sort of housing instability.
Mm-hmm.
And that does not mean they have to be homeless. That can mean they have an eviction letter, right? On their door when they need help because they're about to be on the street. Mm-hmm. And then the next one is a disabling condition. Mm-hmm. So a lot of our clients are actually deemed disabled by the state of Minnesota, but there are people that are undiagnosed that struggle severely, that have crippling, disabling conditions. And so that also qualifies them. They don't have to be, on paper as diagnosed as disabled just yet. But most times we're getting them that service. How do we get you deemed disabled so you can get the services you need? So you're not just out here on your own with no help, right? That label on its own comes with so many different services. And
if I have to ask you, how do these people approach companies like you, or how do you find your clients? Like, what happens? How do they come to you and ask for the service?
Oh yeah. So one of the things that, well, as of now, we've been so reputable. Word of mouth. A lot of clients were like, "You got my cousin housed," or my aunt, you got her housed, and I need help. I'm in the same situation. So there's word of mouth. We get referrals from healthcare agencies. So Health Partners, UCare, Blue Cross, we contract with all of them. And because we built up such a reputation for the work that we do, they pour in. Dorothy Day, they pour in their clients. Literally, when you build a reputation of excellence, I mean, literally, sometimes it's like, we're not taking any more clients because they come in, and then that just shows how much need there is in the community, and we're happy to meet those needs.
And how big is your team that is available to take care of the people that are approaching you?
Yeah, so we have a team of 35 right now, 5 on the admin back end side that kind of monitors, does the auditing of billing, the compliance, and all that good stuff. And then we have a set of 30 coordinators that have a caseload. They all have caseloads, so they serve so many clients on that caseload. So, and the caseload ranges between 15 and 25, depending on the severity of the client, right? We always check in with our coordinators to make sure they're not overloaded. So yeah.
Okay. So without taking any names of your clients, can you help us understand? Because I think it's important for our listeners and the people who are concerned about the HSS program. Help us understand. Give us a couple of examples of the kind of population that is approaching for the services. If you can help us with, a couple of real life scenarios that you have seen and you have been able to help us out. Give us a couple of examples that you think that would help the people who are listening to this understand the value of HSS program.
Yeah. Well, we have dozens of stories. However,
I'm sure you have hundreds of stories. Yeah.
We have a lot.
Yeah.
But to one that stands out in my brain in particular, we have this testimony on our website, but it is a client who we found her in a group home, and she was struggling with her mental illness, all the things, but she desired to be independent. She didn't want to live in a setting like that. So we got her services, and we transitioned her to a more independent setting, in an ICS unit where we were able to nurture her, but we had a long-term plan. Right. We knew we couldn't just house her into our own independent housing because her health issues would maybe put her in a position to be harmed even more if we just shoved her into independent housing. So we got her into a assisted, it wasn't assisted living. It's called ICS. It's an integrated type where there's staff on site, but she has her own apartment, her own keys, all the things. She has an independent feel. And so we got her in there and as a stepping stone to where she really wanted to be. So she's been with us for about 3 years and she finally graduated last year into her first apartment where she pays her own bills. There's no staff on site. You know, she still has her services that she needs, to her nurses that come out and all the things. But she had struggled with homelessness in and out her whole life, even with her children prior to being with us. And so homelessness had been a part of her story. And so she came to us at risk of homelessness. But we were able to grow her from a space of being in a group home where a lot of taxpayer dollars are being poured into, moving her out into an independent setting where she now is happy. She's like, I have my joy back. I feel good about who I am. Before, I just felt like I was awarded a state and I'm staying in this group home. They got to watch me. They got to babysit me 24/7. Now I'm out of that and I feel good about myself. So
group homes are expensive. Group homes are super expensive. And so the taxpayer dollars that was going into group home, what you're saying is that HSS is able to bring out those people who are willing to live independently. You're helping them transition people from group homes into basically living on their own, standing on their own feet. That is so amazing. And this is the investment, I would say, that you're taking people out of certain situations where they're in group homes, they're spending a lot of taxpayer dollars to investing a little bit more into their transition, and now they're living on their own and they're more happy about that just because they're not dependent on other people.
That's right.
And this person is a mother in her 50s and she have been homeless in and out. Is that what, how you say that?
Throughout her life, she's been homeless with her.
Wow. That's an amazing story. And I just feel, I think that's the right investment into a program where you are making such a huge change in the life of a person. And this happened in like, what, 2-3 years?
Yep. So she been with us for about 3 years. And like we said, and from the beginning, we asked her, what do you want? Right? We want to, it's a person-centered approach. Our license is based on that. So we go based on what the client wants. She wants to be independent. And then we have to also help her make informed decisions so she doesn't put herself in a bad space. For example, some people think that HSS is just, you get somebody, you put them in a house, service over. That is so far beyond the truth of what it is. That has happened and people have done that. However, you risk putting them in a home all alone, no services, with their disabilities, some of them dealing with suicidal ideation. And so it's a process. It's not just a one and done, see you later. Yeah. It's helping them grow, right?
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you for, sharing that story. And you said that this was also covered on WCCO. Is that right?
That's right. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
They heard about the work that we were doing and they showed up in my office one day, wanted an interview, and they're like, you got a client's house we can go to right now? I'm like, sure. Let's see who's available. And one of our clients, it happened to be the one I just shared. And so our interview there is, they went to our home, brand new built home, by the way. No one had ever lived in that unit.
That gives me so much clarity. Like myself, it gives me so much clarity about the program, the impact of the program. That's a real impact on somebody whose life is changed for betterment, right? His life has changed it has improved. And I'm sure somebody would be really happy to be independent, away from depending on somebody else. Any other stories that you think would help our viewers understand the impact of HSS?
Yes. So we had a family who had come to us. She's a single mom. She had 3 kids and she came, I forgot, I think she heard it from a friend or something like that, but she came into our office. We got her signed up with services, all the things, but she was sleeping in a hallway with her children.
Wow.
Because she had been evicted and she had nowhere to go. I mean, it was a really, really heartbreaking situation. So we wrapped her around with all the services that we had, which she was a more difficult case. So sometimes there will be 2 coordinators helping when it's a more severe, complex case. However, needless to say, we were able to get her housed within 3 months. We got her a shelter for that night with her children to be able to just stabilize in the moment, right? Without sleeping in the hallway. You know, there's a lot of times we find our clients in this crisis situation. However, within 3 months, we were able to get her a voucher due to her severe situation. And we got her housed into a 3-bedroom duplex, actually. Within 3 months, she's still a client of ours and she's doing very well. And right now we just work on with her currently is just in that sustaining piece, like making sure those rent payments are paid and all the things so she doesn't get herself back into a space. And a lot of our clients, they struggle with relationships. And that might sound weird, but they harbor not so good relationships, which can kind of blow up if you have a home and police are being called constantly. And so we work on what do healthy relationships look like. And so for this specific client, she was able to get away from a domestic violence situation. And hence why she got evicted. It was a very toxic environment and we created a safety plan for her. You know, so when something like that were to happen, what do you do? How do you, not engage with people who don't have your best interest at heart? And it really, I believe, it saved her life and her children who are watching, who are also being traumatized. But now they're in a healthy home. She's doing a lot better. She's getting therapy. We do a lot of referrals, can you get some therapy? Because we're not therapists, right? That's just another situation right now that, worst case scenario, we got her into now the best case scenario where she's on her healing journey and she's independent with her children.
So she's independent in an apartment on her own and she doesn't have to deal with the toxic environment. So what I'm hearing from you is that HSS actually is not just housing stabilization, but you're looking at a client from a 360 degree where you're working on a lot more other things than just that piece of housing. It's like, because what I was thinking was, okay, you have a person, you help them to get into a place and that's it, right? And, or you help them to be in that place, help them to not get evicted. But it looks like this is a lot more than just having them in a house, but helping them 360 degrees just to make sure that they're having healthy relationships, they're having financially, they're getting educated and all that stuff. And so your coordinators are doing all this work and they're connecting with them with the right people so that their decision making improves. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes. And we also, we strive for independence. So even, inspiring them and actually encouraging them to get a job, right?
Yeah.
Like that's important. That's like a really fundamental piece in being stable. Yeah. So a lot of our folks are working now. They're in a better place.
Wow. That's amazing. Thank you for, I just have no words but to say thank you for all the hard work that you and your team is doing. It's amazing. And it's beyond that you can do what you can do in your 8 to 5 job. So truly commendable on all the work that, you and all the other hardworking HSS companies are serving out there. That's amazing. So let's talk about something that's hot. And the part is, so what went through your mind when you first heard about DHS plan to end the HSS program, both as a business owner and somebody who works so closely with your clients and that clients are depending on it?
Yeah, I honestly was deeply saddened. I wonder what those clients that truly depend on our services, what they're going to do. And even for my staff who've literally told me like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I've actually found my purpose. And just for us as a provider, being able to create a space where people are able, because, some companies aren't always able to create that space, but to hear that from people and to know that all that's going to be taken away, it's heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking. And especially knowing the amount of work that you guys do for these clients. So I know we know the reason why DHS is recommending to terminate this program, but from the perspective of what you guys are doing day in and day out, what impact are you starting to see just based on the announcement?
Yeah, well, a huge impact. Companies have laid off hundreds of people, have already been laid out due to the immediate announcement of it being terminated immediately. That put into, because Well, we host a meeting every once a month for HSS providers. So we're in contact with a lot of other agents, right? Because, well, one of the things we knew is that a lot of providers needed more tools. So I took it upon myself to begin to teach the industry, the HSS providers, and create a safe space for us to learn, grow, and be excellent in the work that we do. Yeah. So this is how I knew that a lot of other agencies had terminated positions of housing coordinators. And that was immediate, right? Right upon the announcement, I think the next day, 26 in one company had been laid off. One of the other immediate, our organization, we had to lay off pretty much all of our coordinators have been laid off. And it's happening very fast. And it is heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking.
And I think for us is like, yes, they have a right to shut down any program that they wish. But to do it like this with no due process to give us time to transition these clients into better places, a transition plan, I can respect that.
Yeah.
But the sudden abrupt interruption, it's caused a lot of harm already. Yeah. Especially for the clients. With some of our clients literally been in tears. They've come in one by one by one by one. And we're saying we've had to stop abruptly, but you can come in and give your testimony because we need them to hear the impact that this is having.
So if you have a chance to sit across the policymakers or, DHS leaders today, what would you want them to understand about the real world impact of their decision? I know you're talking about that, but anything else that you want to share to the policymakers and the leaders who are making these decisions?
Yes. If they were listening in right now, I would say, first off, I want to validate that there are some bad actors in all DHS programs, not just HHS.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And I am for cleaning up the industry. So this is not to bash them in any way. However, the way you go about doing it, there's a proper due process that it doesn't harm everyone involved. And that is what needs to be looked at. And that's what needs to be fixed currently. Right. And also, if you look at the numbers, it's been broadcasted all over the news. There's 77 providers out of 1,800 registered providers. That's less than 5%.
Absolutely. Less than 5%.
5% that we're shutting down one whole program. And I know that there's other programs out there that, their programs haven't been completely shut down. Right. However, it does need to be cleaned up. So do the due process. And one of the things I want to say is that less than 60 days ago, I was sitting in the office with Mr. Senator Hoffman, and we put together a reform for HSS because we understood that it needed some fixing and it needed to be improved. They put that reform into law less than 60 days ago, and that was doing what it was supposed to do. Hence why certain fraudulent things had come up, and as it should, because it needs to be cleaned up. Allow it to keep doing what it's supposed to do and clean up the industry. All of a sudden, less than 60 days after the reform put into law, it immediately announcement of termination due to less than 5% of what they found of all providers.
I think it's a blunt instrument being used to solve a precision problem.
Yes.
Every program have loopholes, right? And yes, the bad actors are going to exploit them. But dismantling the entire program in this way is collective punishment. That's what I see.
Yes.
For 77 providers, the impact is huge. I don't think this is not a way to protect the public. Announcing such a decision through headlines without direct communications to the providers or recipients, it has created a lot of panic. And you have shared that correctly. I mean, a lot of people have started to lay off all these coordinators. Now, how hard it is to bring these people back into the industry. You're talking about redesigning this program, bringing back. I don't know if they're ever going to come back. What is the level of trust that has been broken by announcing with this announcement? I think it was reckless, to be honest with you. Right now, I don't see any clear timelines. There are no defined next steps to this. There is no guidance for companies, nor agencies, nor recipients or clients. I'm just puzzled by the way this was handled.
Yeah, I think it's an act of negligence for sure. I'm in agreement with you on that. I do not have much faith because if you look at the wording, they said there would be a potential relaunch. No guarantee that it even is going to, actually be worked on, right? we've had a lot of providers. And one of the things I want to share, two things I want to share that I think is really critical that whoever's listening on here needs to know. They highlighted that this program has racked up a bill of $100 million. However, what they fail to take into account is they played a hand in that. How, you ask? I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you. They put into law 2 years ago that each participant can get $3,000 for moving expenses. Each participant that qualified, and a lot of them qualified. That alone racks up the bill a whole lot. I mean,
should you repeat that again? That was because of the transportation cost, you said?
No,
moving cost.
$3,000 so we're getting these people housed. They have no furniture. They don't know how to pay the deposits. They have no application fees, all these things. So the $3,000 were meant for moving expenses, right? Not for transportation at all.
Okay.
Yeah. Unless it was a delivery truck for their furniture, then yeah, that covers. But $3,000 per participant racked up that $100 million bill. And it was actually taking out quite a bit of providers who were on the ground doing the work. They're like, we can't afford $3,000 per client. We're barely getting reimbursed for what we're doing now. Yeah. So it took out a lot of companies. But we push out about $30,000 in moving expenses every month. And that too got cut off, right? So people that were due to move into their place and we were supposed to provide that damage deposit, they're not able to move in. So it's had a severe, very quick impact on just the announcement alone. So I just wanted to share that piece. Also, the second piece that I wanted to share that I think is critical right now is that providers have come in who've received a letter saying immediate stop payment. Now, I do consulting services for other providers. So they come in with the client that is being used in that case to say this is fraudulent activity. And all letters are the same. It's like a template that says, due to the algorithm data, no actual allegation, we are stopping all payments and we're stopping it immediately. All the work that they've done, all the money they've spent on moving expenses. There's a guy that just came in, another provider that's in the same building, said we have clients that are in apartments right now because they stopped this payment due to a data pattern. They have to move out. They're actually in their homes and we're responsible for paying their rent because they're a GRH with HSS provider. And that's 26 people. I mean, he was so worked up and I'm like, you have to take legal. I mean, that was my suggestion. Take legal action. It's not right. However, and so I think my issue is that right now the system is created where it's like you are guilty until proven innocent.
Wow.
So they're with no and so I sat with him and they called the investigator like, we have no timeline in which we'll actually process all the proof of innocence that you've submitted. Yeah. So in the meantime, yeah, companies are going under very, very quickly with no real notice. So there's a pile of providers who get to continue to keep working until they figure out. And then there's those providers that are less than I don't know. I can't speak for all of them, but I know there's 5 providers that have reached out to me and that have had their clients with them, looked over every billing and confirm everything is true and correct. They have evidence of their innocence, but they're still being punished. That alone is, I believe, a way to cut costs. I don't know what else to call it. I can't say that for sure. So, but there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that I feel like that's not being shown.
How do you see this getting properly handled from here? What do you expect to see?
Well, honestly, I don't know what's going to happen for right. You know what I mean? I don't know. Actually, I woke up this morning. My heart was quite heavy. I was quite sad because they have the power. They have the power to dismantle and take away. And what do people do? What do providers do? Right? Our hands are tied. So yeah, I don't know.
I think the truth is that fraud is a solvable problem, right?
Yes.
With the right collaboration, the solution that I see is that with the right collaboration between DHS, providers, tech leaders, policy experts, we could close these loopholes and implement some real-time safeguards and stop the bad actors before they start acting into this. You don't have to tear down the entire program for that. You don't have to tear down the safety net that so many people rely on. That is something that I hope is some sane head starts thinking about it is like, how do we collaborate together to make sure that the end users of this, the clients that are depending on their programs doesn't get hurt, and the people who are providing the services, are still are able to continue to do as they have been doing.
Yeah.
The ending program without a plan doesn't just solve the problem. It fails to solve the problem. You just end the program. Okay, what did you solve? Nothing. It creates a new crisis. That's what I think. It creates a new crisis. You're not seeing it now, but you will see it. The right move is to fix the system. You don't have to abandon the system. You just need to fix the system.
That's correct.
This is something.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead.
One of the things we actually, there was a protest that we did at the Capitol last week. A lot of people showed up, and Eyewitness Biden News showed up, and we actually were on the news. But one of the participants said something that I thought was so powerful and profound. He said, taking away this program is like dropping an atomic bomb on this city. You think the crime rates, the homeless rates are going to skyrocket.
That's a crisis people are not seeing right now. When you take away something, you have to anticipate what is going to happen, right? The other crisis that you're going to start seeing is what you just mentioned. And that's what my worry is too, is like, you're actually not helping people who want to get out of the situations they're in, or you're not helping people to be in a home, and you're taking away the safety net that they have, that this program has built, right? So here's my ask for people who are listening to this conversation. If this has, open your eyes and you see what's happening, I think you should take an action. Call or email your state lawmakers and tell them, this program matters, and share this episode with a network of people that care about the human cost that is going to take a toll on the state of Minnesota by ending the HSS services. The people we serve don't have time to wait. Their stability, their dignity, and in many cases, the safety depends on what we do next year. And of course, there are a lot of providers who have worked on this program so hard for past few years. They're, and Twyla is representing representing them here. So let's make sure that, the next step we take is the right one. Thank you, Twyla. Thank you for coming on this podcast and sharing your story. Your voice is super important, right? And it's I know that it's not easy to speak about the uncertain situations and where your company is, where your team is, and the clients that you're serving. But it's a conversation like this that help people understand what is really at stake. So, your commitment to serving over 500-600 clients every month, even in the middle of this storm, is exactly why this work matters, right? So we appreciate you, and we will keep pushing, to make sure that the voices like yours is heard, and voices of those who serve are heard. So thank you, Twyla, and appreciate you coming onto this podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Take care.